All right, so you know how the Supreme Court has been really emphasizing waste segregation lately?
Mm,
Well, it's kind of a big deal for anyone seriously prepping for the UPSC, especially with mains coming up.
yeah, for sure.
We're going to deep dive into all of that today using this article from the Hindu.
Oh, cool.
It's called Solid Waste Management, Segregation, Waste to Energy, and SWM Rules.
This is like way more than just an environmental issue, right? It connects to governance, public health, sustainable development, all that core stuff for both prelims and mains.
Exactly. So first, let's get a sense of how big this problem is in India.
Okay.
This article mentions that India generates enough waste every day to fill over 150 football fields.
Wow.
It's almost 170,000 tons daily.
That is mind-boggling.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And while the article highlights that India has made progress in waste processing,
Yeah.
going from 18% to 78%,
Right.
we're still trying to catch up with the sheer volume of waste.
Yeah. The Central Pollution Control Board report shows our treatment capacity just isn't there yet.
Right, so we're moving forward, but there's a ways to go.
Definitely.
The article then goes deep into waste segregation,
Okay.
which seems simple, but they make a strong case for why it's the foundation of good waste management,
I see.
especially with those SWM rules of 2016.
It's kind of like, think about organizing your study notes. If everything's jumbled together, it's a nightmare to find anything, right?
Yeah.
But if you categorize your notes by subject or by topic, it's so much easier.
Oh, so instead of seeing all waste as one big mess,
Right.
we break it down.
Exactly.
And the SWM rules give us three main categories: biodegradables, non-biodegradables, and domestic hazardous waste.
Exactly. Biodegradables are things like food scraps, yard waste, stuff that breaks down naturally.
Okay.
Non-biodegradables are like plastics, metals, glass, things that need to be processed differently.
And then hazardous waste from our homes.
Right. Things like batteries, old medicines, cleaning chemicals that need special handling.
So the benefits of segregating right from our homes are pretty big then, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about being tidy.
Yeah.
Segregation prevents contamination, reduces what goes to landfills, makes recycling easier. It minimizes health risks from hazardous materials. And most importantly, I think it makes people feel responsible.
Yeah.
Imagine if everyone in your building or your neighborhood was seriously segregating their waste.
That would make a huge difference.
Right.
Okay, so we've established that waste segregation is key. But what happens to the waste after it's separated?
Good question.
This article brings up a really interesting solution called waste to energy.
Oh, yeah. It's basically about taking the energy that's locked up in waste and converting it into something we can use.
Like electricity or heat.
Exactly.
So we're not just getting rid of waste, but seeing it as a resource.
Right.
And the article mentions several different ways to do this, like incineration, gasification, and anaerobic digestion.
Yeah. Incineration is burning waste at high temperatures to make heat, which is then used to make steam to power turbines for electricity.
Okay.
Gasification is similar, but instead of burning it completely, it breaks down the waste to create syngas, which can be used as fuel.
Interesting.
And anaerobic digestion uses microorganisms to break down organic waste, which produces biogas rich in methane, another good fuel source.
So we've got a bunch of options, each with its own pluses and minuses.
Right.
And, the SWM rules of 2016 actually mandate that high calorific waste has to be used for energy generation.
Yeah, they're serious about finding new solutions and moving away from just dumping everything in landfills.
Which obviously comes with its own set of problems.
Definitely.
The article also brings up this term refuse-derived fuel, or RDF.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly is that, and how does it fit into this waste-to-energy thing?
So RDF is basically a fuel made from the stuff in waste that can't be burned,
Okay.
like plastics, paper, and textiles after you take out things like metal and glass.
So it's like squeezing even more value out of the waste.
Exactly.
It sounds like India is using a bunch of different approaches then.
Yeah.
Segregation at the source, new technologies like waste-to-energy, and this RDF to reduce dependence on traditional fuels.
And as someone interested in policy, seeing how all these pieces fit together is really important.
Right.
It's not just about knowing the technologies or the rules. It's about understanding the whole strategy.
It sounds like a really challenging, but also exciting field.
For sure.
But before we get too far ahead, let's look closer at this waste-to-energy approach.
Okay.
It sounds promising, but are there any downsides?
Well, that's a great question, and we'll dive into all of that right after this.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So waste to energy, or WtE,
Okay.
it's a really promising solution, but it's super important to look at it from all sides,
Right.
Especially as a future policymaker, you need to weigh the good and the bad.
So let's break down those pros and cons.
Yeah.
We talked about some of the advantages already, like less reliance on landfills and generating clean energy.
Mm-hmm.
What else does the article mention?
Well, it talks about how WtE can help with resource recovery,
Resource recovery.
basically turning waste into something valuable.
Okay.
For example, the ash from incineration can sometimes be used in construction.
Oh, wow.
And WtE plants can potentially lower greenhouse gas emissions, especially methane, which is a big concern for India's climate goals.
So it's not just about getting rid of waste, but using it in a way that benefits the economy and the environment.
Exactly.
That's pretty impressive.
Right.
But I'm curious about the downsides, too.
Sure.
The article mentions concerns about emissions, right?
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Even though modern WtE plants have really good emission control systems,
Right.
there's always a chance of some air pollution.
Okay.
You have to think about the impact on air quality, especially in places with a lot of people.
So careful planning and strict regulations are crucial
Oh, absolutely.
to make sure these plants operate safely.
Definitely.
And the article also mentions responsible ash disposal, right?
Yes, very important. Because the ash from WtE can sometimes have heavy metals and other toxic stuff in it.
Oh, I see.
And if you don't dispose of it properly, it could contaminate the soil and water.
Yikes. That would create a whole new set of problems.
For sure.
So it sounds like a tricky balancing act.
Yeah.
Using WtE while minimizing the risks.
And that's where policymakers like you come in.
Right.
You need to understand the technology, assess the environmental impact, and create rules that ensure WtE is implemented responsibly.
It sounds like a huge challenge.
But also a really interesting one.
Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about these Draft SWM Rules of 2024.
Okay.
The article mentions them briefly, highlighting some key things that could really change waste management in India.
These draft rules give us a sneak peek into the future of waste management.
Cool.
And even though they might change, they show a shift towards a more decentralized and participatory approach.
One thing that really stands out is giving Safai Karamkaris the power to find people who don't segregate their waste.
That's a big deal.
It is. It's giving these frontline workers more authority and responsibility.
Think about it. They're the ones dealing with the mess when people don't segregate.
Yeah.
Giving them the power to enforce the rules could really make a difference.
But it also raises some questions.
Sure.
Like, how will these fines work?
Right.
Will there be a system that's fair and transparent?
Those are really good questions.
Right.
And I'm sure they'll be addressed as they finalize these rules.
It's important to make sure the system doesn't create more problems or opportunities for corruption.
Exactly.
It seems like a good idea, but it needs to be done carefully.
Definitely.
The article also talks about managing agricultural waste and the problem of stubble burning.
Oh, yeah. That's a major issue, especially in North India.
Mm-hmm.
Stubble burning is a big contributor to air pollution.
Right.
And these draft rules focus on finding other ways to deal with agricultural residue, like composting, producing bioenergy, or even using it as building material.
Interesting.
It's about encouraging farmers to see this waste as something useful instead of a problem.
Yeah,
And it shows how waste management is connected across different sectors.
definitely.
What happens on farms affects cities, especially when it comes to air quality.
This is really showing how complex and interconnected this whole issue is.
It is.
It's not just about picking up trash.
Right.
It's about resources, the environment,
Yeah.
public health, even social justice.
You got it. And for you as a UPSC aspirant, it's crucial to see this topic from all those different angles.
Okay.
Don't just memorize facts. Try to really understand the issues, the policies, the potential solutions.
It's not just about passing the exam.
Right.
It's about developing the skills
Yeah.
to tackle real-world problems.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's look at some of the bigger questions about the future of waste management in India.
Right.
Stick with us as we explore those in the final part of our deep dive. So we're back, and we've been talking about solid waste management in India.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We talked about the scale of the problem, the importance of segregation,
Right.
the potential of waste to energy, and those new draft SWM rules of 2024.
It's pretty amazing how this whole waste management thing connects to so many important areas for the UPSC.
Right.
Like environmental sustainability, public health,
Yeah.
urban planning, even social justice.
It shows how all these challenges are linked.
Definitely.
And that we can't just focus on one thing at a time.
We need a holistic approach.
Okay, so for this last part, I want to kind of zoom out and look at the big picture.
Okay.
We've talked about current solutions and policies, but what about the future? What kind of innovative approaches can you, as a future policymaker, imagine for India?
That's the big question, right? Well, I think one area with huge potential is technology.
Right.
Think about using AI and machine learning to like optimize waste collection routes,
Oh, that's cool.
or to find illegal dumping spots,
Yeah.
or even to sort waste more efficiently at processing plants.
We usually think about technology for solving those really complex scientific problems,
Yeah,
but it could also make everyday things like waste management work better.
absolutely. And then there's blockchain technology.
Oh, wow.
It could create more transparent waste management systems.
How so?
Like imagine a system that records every step of the waste journey,
Okay.
from collection to processing,
So you can track everything
and verify it.
to reduce corruption and mismanagement?
Exactly.
That's really interesting. But technology alone isn't enough, right?
You're right.
We also need to change people's behavior and get communities involved.
Definitely. It's not enough to just tell people to segregate their waste.
Right.
We need systems that reward people for doing the right thing.
Okay.
Like maybe reward programs or tax breaks for households and businesses that reduce waste and recycle.
So make it easier and more beneficial to do the right thing.
Exactly. And education is huge too.
Oh, yeah.
Starting from a young age. Imagine if waste management and environmental awareness were part of school curriculums.
That would make a big difference.
It would create a generation that sees waste as a resource, not just trash.
And that change in thinking is crucial for the long term. This has been a really great discussion. We've really gone deep into the complexities of solid waste management in India.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored the technology, the policies, the role of individuals and community.
It's a multifaceted issue.
It is. And for our listeners preparing for the UPSC, remember this topic is important for both prelims and mains.
Don't just memorize facts and figures.
Right.
Really dig into the issues, the debates, the potential solutions.
Think critically, connect the dots, and form your own opinions.
That's what will help you in the exam.
And more importantly, it will prepare you to be effective policymakers.
Exactly.
And if you found this deep dive helpful, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
And for a more in-depth look at all of this, be sure to check out the full article from The Hindu.
It's called Solid Waste Management, Segregation, Waste-to-Energy, and SWM Rules.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning.
And keep striving to make a positive impact on the world.